In today's One View Wonder, I'll be discussing something that gets on my nerves probably more than I can convey with words. And my only regret in discussing this is that it probably will get at most maybe 20 or 30 views. The House of Representatives on Tuesday voted down a proposal by Representative Ilhan Omar to accelerate the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan and help bring to a close the longest war in U.S. history. The Minnesota Democrats' amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act fell by a vote of 129 to 284, with 103 House Democrats joining 181 Republicans in voting no. We are deeply disappointed by today's vote, Stephen Mills, executive director of Win Without War, told Common Dreams. The House passed a nearly identical provision several years ago with near unanimous Democratic support. Far too many House Democrats wrongly viewed this somehow as a vote on Donald Trump rather than a vote to end our nation's longest war, Miles said. Frankly, they need to learn to walk and chew gum at the same time. They should be able to oppose Donald Trump and end endless war all at the same time. If passed, Omar's amendment would have removed from the House NDAA language inserted by Representatives Liz Cheney, Republican of Wyoming, and Jason Crow, Democrat of Colorado, that imposes a series of vague conditions on U.S. troop withdrawals from Afghanistan. The Cheney-Crow provisions require that before the number of U.S. troops stationed in Afghanistan can be reduced below 8,000, the Pentagon must certify that withdrawal will not increase the risk for the expansion of existing or formation of new terrorist safe havens inside Afghanistan and is in the best interest of United States national security, whatever that means. The language was adopted earlier this month with the support of nearly every Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. Omar's proposal would have stripped out Cheney and Crow's provisions and added language requiring the withdrawal of the remaining 8,600 U.S. troops from Afghanistan by April 29, 2021. The withdrawal of the United States Armed Forces from Afghanistan must be accompanied by a long-term peace process that is inclusive of all parties to the conflict and sectors of civil society, the amendment reads. In a speech on the House floor Monday, Omar addressed critics who alleged the proposal would withdraw U.S. troops from Afghanistan too quickly. There are people saying that we shouldn't be too hasty in leaving, Omar said. Too hasty? It's been 2 decades. When you have people who are disingenuous, they come up with these ways of opposing things without actually having merit behind them. So when they were talking about the amendments that Cheney and Crow, who are the two biggest co-conspirators of keeping this conflict going in this particular vote, and its language of whatever is in what's in the best interest of United States national security, one would think what's in the best interest of American national security is getting out of a conflict that has killed thousands of people and wasted billions of dollars over a near 2-decade period. And look, I'm not a partisan person, so Crow is a Democrat. I think he should be heavily critiqued. He should be critiqued just as much as Cheney, who's a Republican. And I actually look at the people who vote in ways I like and give them credit. So Amash and Massey, who are two Republicans who have consistently supported getting out of conflicts before, whether it was Yemen, they're just people who actually have some principles. Same thing with Ro Khanna, Tulsi Gabbard, Presley, Omar, Ocasio-Cortez, Tlaib, Jayapal, Lee. Well, not, there's another Lee, but I'll get to her later, Barbara Lee, the other one. So when I say that, this isn't about attacking one party over the other, but I did want to highlight a couple of the votes. In this election year, you hear people who say vote blue no matter who, vote for the Democrats because it's going to help get rid of Trump or it's going to reverse what he's done. But when you have almost as many Democrats voting for an amendment that is just not, I guess maybe the way to put it is, 100 plus Democrats vote for this, and you expect someone to believe there's a difference. But I wanted to go through actually some of the specific Democrats who voted to support this. Hoyer and Clyburn, as people know or may not know, are the second and third highest ranking Democrats in the House, and they voted for this. This is after they've been critical of Trump, quote unquote critical of him, but then they support staying in a conflict that he's also stated his support for remaining in. We've had Wasserman Schultz, the dingbat from Florida that messed up Sanders in his initial presidential campaign. And I'm going to now read off some names, and I'm going to explain the importance of these names after I finish reading them off. Craig, Davids, Escobar, Finkenauer from Iowa, Fletcher, Spanberger, Macbeth, Underwood, Halen, Horn, Susie Lee, Luria, McCarcel, Powell, Porter, Schreier, Shalala, Sherrill, Slotkin, Spanberger, Stevens, Torres, Small, Wexton. All 22 of those names I just read off are freshman Democrats who voted to stay in this conflict by voting against Omar's amendments. Now remember what happened during the last midterm. Vote blue no matter who. It's a blue wave. We're going to come in and bring change. Ask yourself, what goddamn change came about from electing people of the opposing party who vote the same way as the guys they claim they're against? And this guy said it right. The executive director of Women Without War. Far too many House Democrats wrongly viewed this somehow as a vote on Trump rather than a vote to end the U.S.'s longest war. And you actually have them, these people who are supposed to be smart, these people who are supposed to be elected to represent the views of most Americans, trying to trick most people into supporting politicians who back a conflict that has been going on long enough for people who weren't born when it started to now be entering it as soldiers. This will be a companion piece to my video on the Senate and how they voted to keep this going. But I'm just so sick and tired of every single year the Democrats get this blind praise from these clowns on Twitter, on Instagram, all these websites who don't look at their votes. See, I actually care about this stuff. So even if I'm not that big a fan of someone like AOC, I'll still give her credit for voting the correct way on this. But the rest of them, that 100 plus Dems that voted for this, the only thing they'll get from me is a middle finger. And all the people online that support the ones who vote for stuff like this by not checking to see which ways they actually vote, they get my vomit and my behind to kiss whenever they claim that voting for this party is somehow going to lead to a progressive change in America. Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait until the third decade to see these people finally come around to ending this never-ending conflict.